Good morning and welcome to our webinar this morning with Neve Campbell from First Class Accounts Wanneroo. This morning Neve's going to be talking about automation and bookkeeping. Before we hand over to Neve, there's a couple of features of the platform that I wanted to run through with you, including the chat, which a few of you have already started talking in, and also the Q&A. So if you click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, you'll be able to submit a question, which Neve will answer at the end of the session. So keep them coming throughout and I'll monitor those as we go. So I'll hand over to you, Neve, if you're ready.
Morning everyone. Hope you're all well. It's a little bit cold this morning. So this morning I'm going to be talking to you a little bit around the technology and bookkeeping. So how to automate your bookkeeping so that it doesn't take as long and it doesn't get so overwhelming. We're going to be looking at Xero and Receipt Bank. They're the two apps I'm going to talk about today, but they're obviously not the only two apps out there that you can use. Let me just get my... So I'm also happy to share this slide deck with anybody. So either contact Lauren or contact me directly and you can have a copy of this. So this is just about me. As most of you probably know, I work with Eamon, my dad, and we're a bookkeeping practice, so they're all bits and pieces that we can do. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I've got a lot of stuff to get through, so have a read of that when you get the slide deck. So today we're going to have a look at why it's important to keep record keeping. So you need to know where your business is at as you're growing, so that especially at times like this, if you weren't up to date with your bookkeeping, you wouldn't be able to get JobKeeper, you wouldn't be able to get your cash flow boost. So there's a lot of reasons for that. Also compliance for the ATO if you're on GST or BAS, IAS, tax returns, all of that sort of stuff. So it's really important to stay on top of those records, and you also need to keep those records for a certain amount of time. So we're going to have a look at some software, accounting software, some apps for automation, and then some other apps if we have time towards the end. I'll go through some other apps that I use that might help you just automate some of your systems and workflow. So for today, I'm just going to talk about Xero, not because it's the best, not because it's the only one, just because for me it was the easiest one to show you some of the things that help make bookkeeping easier. There's so many other ones out there that you can use, but this is just, and they'll all do similar things. It'll just be how they do them. So I'm not claiming that it's the best or the only one. It's just the one I'm using today. So depending on what your business needs are, will depend on which software will be best for you. Some people might need the whole package that a big ERP will be able to offer you. Some people might just need a bank feed so you can allocate your ins and outs. So it really depends on what you need. And there'll be a software out there that will help your business. You might go to someone and they'll go, just use Xero, just use QuickBooks, just use Mail, but they're not looking at what your business needs. So you need to look at what your business needs and then decide on the software. I know price can be a big deciding software when choosing, or deciding factor when you're choosing a software, but you've got to sometimes look at the overall cost of it, so time versus dollar cost, and see which one definitely fits your business. Okay, so this is a lot of text, I know. So what these software packages do for us now is pretty amazing. So no longer the need to keep files and files of receipts and paperwork. You no longer need to walk into an office and there's filing cabinets of receipts and printed invoices and all of that sort of stuff. Most of the accounting packages will offer a smartphone app. So you can take photos of the receipts and allocate them straight from the app. And you can also invoice on the go. So there's none of this doing the job at the start of the month, invoicing everybody on the 30th of the month, and then not getting paid for another 30 days. So 60 days between payments. That doesn't happen anymore. You can invoice on the day and get paid within a couple of days. A couple of tips. I always recommend that even if you're not using an accounting software to start with, at least have a dedicated bank account for all your business related transactions. So everything that you receive, all your money in, goes into that bank account, and all your expenses come out of that bank account. That way, when you do decide to move to a software, you can just upload all that CSV, all that data into a software, and we don't need to go find transactions of where the money came in and what we spent money on. So if it's all coming in and out of the one bank account, it will make your life much easier. If you do need to use personal money, which I understand a lot of people might need to do, especially during this time, I recommend transferring that money from your personal account into your business bank account and then spend the money. because if you go to Officeworks, it'll say on your business bank account statement, Officeworks. So if you do happen to lose the receipt, at least we know that you spent the money at Officeworks. So just a couple of little tips there. So I'm going to go through a couple of demos within Xero and Receipt Bank. I've got the videos pre-recorded so I can talk over them. Another tip I also have, if you don't want to use something like Receipt Bank, is create an album on your phone called Receipts, and every time you go and spend money, just take a photo of that receipt and save it into that album. At least then, if you don't have time to do the receipting there and then, you've always got a copy, digital copy on your phone, so that when you do come around to doing your bookkeeping, you've got all your receipts stored in one place on your phone. All right, so I'm going to do a demo on, so Receipt Bank is a receipt capturing app that we use. Xero does have one integrated within its software called HubDoc. So if you're using Xero and you're not using a bookkeeper uses Receipt Bank, then I recommend you use HubDoc because it's quite good. So Receipt Bank and HubDoc, you take a photo using your app, it goes into the software pulls all the data from it, and then you just publish it over into Xero. So I'm going to show you how to do that, how to match it in Xero once it does come in, and then how to create a bank rule for a lot of transactions in Xero so that you don't need to do as much data entry. You can get Xero to be a bit smarter with its transaction matching. All right, let's see if I can. Okay, so the first one is actually a recording off my phone. So the Receipt Bank is an app on your phone that you just use to take a photo. So we'll open that. So this is just, I've taken the video on my phone, then uploaded it to my computer, but you're going to be looking at this part here. So go back to the, so you go into Receipt Bank and find the file that you want. Then you click on the little plus down the bottom and it brings up your camera. You can choose to take a single, multiple, or combine. So a single is just one. Combined is if you've got a photo or a 2-page or a 3-page invoice, you can take the 3 photos, but it combines it into one PDF when it sends it over into Receipt Bank. So Receipt Bank now has taken the photo and extracted it. And now we're going to look at what it looks like in Receipt Bank. Maybe. That one. So this is now we're inside of Receipt Bank. So this is what it looks like. You can, before I press play, you can see this is the user details. This email in, you don't have to use the app. If you get something in an email that's an invoice, you can forward it direct from your email to that email in email address. So you don't have to print it out and take a photo. You just forward it straight from your email into your Receipt Bank. So from here, so that's just me pointing out that email address. You click on costs. And you'll see that the receipt I just took, or the invoice I just took, is there. And you'll see that Receipt Bank has pulled across, I haven't done any of this, so this is Receipt Bank's done it all. They pulled across the date, the invoice number. The due date is slightly wrong, so we can just adjust that. It's pulled across the supplier, how much it was, what the GST is, and then we just need to tell Receipt Bank what account we want it to go to. Then you'll also see that it's telling us there's a bank match within Xero on the right-hand side there. So that means we know that it's already been paid for in Xero. So when we send it over, it should match straight away. So now we've just published that. See that little black dot that I'm circling on? When you've got a whole heap of receipts in there, if there's any little black dots, that's telling you that it's already sitting in your bank feed in Xero. So you'll be able to know exactly which ones will match automatically. And sometimes there'll be a little green dot, and that little green dot is you've already allocated the transaction, so we don't want to duplicate it. But if you click the little green dot, it will just attach that receipt to the transaction in the background. So if you ever need to find the receipt, it'll be straight on that transaction. Hopefully that makes sense. Like, hang on, sorry. So now we'll go into the next one. So now we're going to go into Xero. So this is my Xero file that I've set up. As you can see, there's Hang on. As you can see, there's quite a few transactions in there that we'll get to. But I'll show you how the receipt from Receipt Bank matches in Xero. So as you can see, there's quite a few transactions in there. So we go to the wrong one, bills to pay. And you'll see that one that we sent from Receipt Bank is sitting there, but it's awaiting approval. So we just need to approve that. This is what you can do if you've got a couple of people that approve the payment process. You can put them into Xero and then approve them. So then we go back into our reconcile. And as you can see, it's gone green. So it's basically saying there was a payment here for $165. Is that for that receipt? And if it is, you just click in that OK. So in that whole process, all we've had to do is take a photo and tell Receipt Bank what account we want it allocated to. That was the only data entry that we've done. And now moving forward, if we ever need that receipt again, it'll be in Receipt Bank for us. So it'll be stored in there, but it'll also be stored against that transaction in Xero. So every time you need to know what you spent that $165 on, it will be there for you. Cool. The next thing I'm going to show is how to do bank rules. So bank rules are pretty cool within Xero. If you have a lot of things that you, a lot of things that are regular transactions, you can create a bank rule for them. So like bank fees or a lot of subscriptions, so that you don't have to send those receipts over every month. We know that you can log into your Office 365 account and all your invoices will be there, or your telco. So you can log into your Telstra account at all times and all of your invoices will be there. So once you know the correct GST breakdown, you can create what's called a bank rule. So I'm going to show you how to do a bank rule now. So you click on the little options and go create bank rule. And then I always like to just get rid of the first line and make that any text field, and make sure you use contains, because if it's not those exact words, then it won't work. So, and then you put in who the contact will be. So it'd obviously be whichever bank that was, and then what account you want it to go to. So it'll be bank fees, and the GST is GST free. You can choose, if you've got multiple bank accounts, you can have this run across all the bank accounts. I always like to put in the title where the transaction is going to and the GST breakdown, just so that if anybody else is doing the bookkeeping, they know what that bank rule is and they know that it's correct. So now all you have to do when you go through your bank feed now is whenever bank fees comes up, it says this bank rule, do you want to allocate it? And you just click yes. And so there's a few more later on where I'll be able to show you a lot more bank rules and how that works. Cool. That one. So we'll just come back to here. So we went through Receipt Bank and matching Xero and the bank rules. So with that album on the phone, if you don't want to use Receipt Bank and you want to use HubDoc, or you want to just use the Xero app, it's very similar. Using the Xero app, you just need to type in a bit more information. HubDoc is free, already connected with Xero, and Receipt Bank, depending on who you're getting it from, we do a little bit of a cheaper price if people want it, but I think it's around the $25–30 a month. I'm not 100% sure. I can find out for you though if we need to. Now we're just going to do a quick demo for how to create invoices and how to match the payments in Xero. So some people get a bit confused if someone only makes a part payment on how they should allocate that within allocate it to the invoice. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But also how easy it is to do an invoice, and even that way it'll be easy to do invoices on the go, and that you can get payment pretty much straight away if you connect a payment gateway like Stripe. So you could send an invoice and someone could pay straight away on their phone and you'd get the money the next day. So it's pretty cool that you can get paid so quickly. Okay, so this one here is the wrong one. This one here is, so we're just going to create an invoice within Xero. So you just go to invoices, go new invoice, type in who it's for. And the cool thing with the due date, you can just put plus and however many days you want it to be due. So you don't need to type in the date. So you can go +7, +14, +12, whatever you want, and it will autofill that due date. Then you just put in what you're doing and how much it's for and what sales account it's going to. Some people also like to, some people bill in their head tax inclusive or tax exclusive. So Xero allows you to change that. So if you put 1900 and you want that to be inclusive of tax, you just change that amounts up the top to be tax inclusive. So it'll make the total 1900. If you're GST registered, it'll pull out the GST amount of that for you. And then you just approve. And that's your invoice done. From there, you can actually email it direct to the client straight from Xero. So you just click on that email button and you'll be able to email it straight. And they'll be able to have a link that they'll be able to click into it and pay from that link. So there you go. It's sitting there as awaiting payment. So we're going to do a couple of invoices just so I can show you different payment methods and how to use the items. So if you want to do use this item code, so you can create a new item quite quickly. Create your code. It's a product or service. So if you have a specific service, like if you create websites, you could have website design, and then it will automatically fill for how much you put in there. So if you say it's per hour, you can go, it's $80 per hour, and then it automatically puts all the description in there, as you'll see. So then you just need to type something into the item and all of this pre-fills for you. Excuse my terrible quantity part here. I was trying to get a correct price, and I went through it a little bit. It took a little bit long. Any other questions? I get there eventually. Sorry. There we go, $500. I think I've got just one more. Just doing this so you can see how quickly an invoice can be done. Oh, bugger. Sorry. So again, you can change that tax inclusive, tax exclusive. If the price isn't right, you can just change the dollar amount and make sure you put in what account it's going to. So now we go back to the dashboard and we'll match off. Some of those items have been paid for already. So as you can see, that very top one, $1,900 came in, and Xero is asking, is that for this invoice? And if it is, you just click on that OK button. Then for invoice 2, they actually only paid $250. So you just click on it and then click on that split button, and it will put $250 off the invoice and leave the other $250 outstanding. Same with this 300. They only paid 300 off the 600. So we click split, part payment, match that off. And then the last one for this is to the right one. So this is just matching off now some more bank rules, so you can see how easy it is. There's 12 transactions in this bank account at the moment, and by the end of this, a lot of them will be gone because we'll use bank feeds or bank rules, and we'll be able to match off on the rest of those payments. So as you can see, there's a few bank rules that we've created. So Google Suite, Facebook advertising. There's the other $250 payment that Xero's put green automatically, so we know that's right. So we're able to get rid of a few of them, and there's the $300 one. So we're just left with a couple of transactions now. So we've got wages, and we need to allocate that. That always goes to wages payable on your balance sheet, so we get rid of that. And the next one, we could create a bank rule for this as well. I just wanted to show you how to get rid of them. And then one that probably everybody's looking at is the JobKeeper at the moment. So we need to create a new account because we don't have an account for JobKeeper. Most people won't. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Chart of accounts, add account. So it's going to be another income. The account code you don't need to worry about. And just call it JobKeeper, and it will always be BAS excluded because it's not GST. So then you go back in and allocate that to JobKeeper. So in that short period of time, we've gone from 12 transactions down to 2 just by utilizing bank rules and by making sure that we're matching off the invoices correctly so that they go green the next time. Okay, so is there any questions so far? I've got the one about the receipt bank. So I think I answered that one. Just if there's any other questions, just pop them in there and we'll be able to get through them. So doing everything electronically does save a lot of time, as you can see. If you're on the ball, if you've got, say, 10, 20 transactions coming into your bank account on a daily basis, even if you've got bank rules set up, or if you're utilizing something like Receipt Bank or HubDoc, as you can see, it can take a couple of minutes every morning to just log in and just go allocate, okay. So you'll be able to get through most of your day-to-day transactions that way by utilizing those bank rules. And it just means it won't be so overwhelming when you log in and there's 1,000 transactions if you start doing it a little bit per day. It also saves a lot of paper and filing, so we don't need to pay that filing person anymore. Invoicing direct from your mobile also helps you to keep track of income and to utilize payment options such as Stripe, Square, PayPal, and direct debit options. There's so many of them out there. So the minute you send an invoice that has a link on it, you can see when the client opens that link, so you know as whenever they've read the invoice. And most of the time, if you give people as many options to pay, they're going to pay quicker. So you can give them options. You can give them the direct debit option, the credit card option, or the bank transfer option. And most people pay one of them quite quickly. I'm one of those people that if you send me an invoice with a credit card link on it, I'll probably pay that quicker because I can open it on my phone. My credit card details are stored on my phone. So I'll open it, pay now, and it's done. Whereas if I have to pay by bank transfer, I normally leave it a couple of days because I need to log into my bank on my computer and do it that way. So it just depends on what works for you, and you want people to pay you as quickly as possible. The other thing that's really important within Xero, and it's not sort of around the automation, but it's about making sure that you're doing things correctly, is the reconciliation report. So I didn't have this video, but I can hopefully jump in. No. So in Xero, I'm going to try and get out of here. Sorry. Where am I? Sorry, guys, I apologize. There we go. So within Xero, you'll see this is your bank account here. You can see the screen, yeah, my Xero screen. Yep. You'll see this reconciliation report. If you click on that after you've reconciled and choose a date, so we'll go back to the 24th of May. You'll see that it tells me what the balance in Xero was and what the statement balance is. So once you've allocated all of your transactions, you should be coming in and doing this and making sure that that bank account, that bank balance there equals what's on your bank statement. If there's any transactions in between there, that means you've either duplicated or you haven't done it correctly. So you need to get rid of those. Those two figures should always be the same as what's in your bank account. Just very quickly. Are we back on my first class accounts? Sorry, Lauren.
That's all right, don't stress.
Tech issues.
We were on your Xero screen, so just
There
get
we
it
go.
reset. You'll be all good.
We're back now. Cool. Okay, so price-wise, to be able to do all of that automation, if you just need the bank feed and you just want to be able to upload receipts and you don't really need to invoice because your clients just pay money, whether it be through POS or e-commerce, then if you're not GST registered, this non-GST cash book is pretty good. Or the GST cash book for $10, $19 a month, you'll be able to get your bank feeds in there and just allocate from your bank feed. So at least you'll have some count of your transactions and it'll be easier to stay on top of. These ones here can only be taken or received by a Xero partner. So you just need to go and talk to most bookkeepers or accountants will be a Xero partner, so you'll be able to get them from them. Okay, so I'm sort of done with the Xero side of it. Belle, I see your question there about B2B pay. I haven't used B2B pay, but I'm happy to have a chat with you and we can see if we can get it set up if you want, if that's okay. Is there any other questions around the Xero, the automation? Because I'm going to move on very quickly to a couple of other apps and tips and tricks that might help within workflow. No, all good. Cool. So I use one of these. It's called a Rocketbook. I don't like using paper because I'm trying to get paper free within the office. So I use a Rocketbook because I still do like to squiggle. So a Rocketbook is really cool. You can write on it. You can wipe it clean. So you just get a cloth like this and you can wipe the page clean. You can reuse it up to 1,000 times. It also has an app that comes with it. So you can take a photo of what's on the page and it turns it into a PDF, so you can email it to yourself or you can send it to a OneDrive. You can send it by text. So I've got a quick video on that if I don't screw it up, because I'm getting good at that. Cool. So you just write on the page as per normal. As you can see, it's got a little QR code down at the bottom of it. That's what they use to convert it into the PDF. And you just use a normal pen that you can buy from Officeworks. It's called a friction pen. So you just write on the page. I use it for taking client notes if I need to save them for later on. Then you open up the app, take a photo, and then decide where you want to send it to. So there's so many places you can send it to. It converts it to PDF. Then you can change the title of it so that you're changing the file name there and then. Save. And then it sends it to your email. So then it comes into your email as a PDF. They are working on OCR, so they're going to start turning your handwriting into text as well. But that's pretty cool if you just want something to keep track of, to keep on you at all times. And then once you've taken the photo, you can just wipe the page clean, and then you know you've always got an electronic copy somewhere. So when you get this slide deck, you'll have the link to Rocketbook as well, so you'll be able to jump online and have a look at it if you haven't seen it before. Going to quickly go through some of the apps and softwares that I use to automate my workflow. I pretty much, as I said before, I run pretty much a paper-free office, going from the first time I meet a client to starting all of their client work. So some of the apps that I use are here. So they're the main ones that I use on a day-to-day basis. I only pay for 2 of them. The only 2 I pay for are Typeform and OneDrive, and I do pay for Zapier as well, which is another one that's on another page. But they're the only 2 that I really pay for. Typeform is about $400, I think, a year, and I think OneDrive costs me $7 a month for a terabyte of data for the business one. All of the rest of them, I just use the free versions, and I'll go through what I use them for. So when I first meet a client, generally a client will contact me, or we'll meet somewhere and we'll have a chat, and then they decide they want to have a free 1-hour meeting with me. So we'll catch up, we'll go meet, they'll tell me what they need, I'll say how I can help, and we'll decide if they want to move forward and get a quote from me. So I use HubSpot as my CRM. I have created my workflow in such a way that in HubSpot, I enter their name and email address. That's all I do. And then HubSpot, using Typeform and Zapier in the background, send them an email from my email address saying, it was really lovely meeting you today. Can you please fill out the form I was talking about? And it sends them a form from Typeform where I can get all the information from them. Before we started using this, I used to have to send all my clients an email with the form. They'd have to print the form out, fill in all the details, scan it and send it back. And then I'd have to decipher all of their handwriting, probably get an email or a phone number wrong, and enter all that manually into my MailChimp, into my Practice Ignition, into Xero, and all of that sort of stuff. So by doing it this way, I'm getting them to do my data entry for me. I'm sending them the form, they fill it in electronically. All that information comes back to me in one document, but then in the background, again, it sends all that information to MailChimp and puts them onto my newsletter list. And it also sends it into Practice Ignition, which is the software I use to generate my proposals. So there's no data entry. So all of that data entry has been done from me just typing in a name and an email address. So it saved me a lot of time. Also, makes everything a little bit more efficient. So once all the information is in MailChimp and Practice Ignition, I generate them a quote. I normally give most of my clients a quote, so they get 3 packages that they can choose from. I send that to them in a PDF. Then from that PDF, they decide which one they want, and then I go into Practice Ignition and I generate my electronic proposal. That proposal gets sent out again electronically, where they can see everything and sign the proposal, and it's a direct debit. So this is where they put in their bank account details securely. So they put their bank account details in, and once they sign that, again in the background, Zapier works its magic, and it sends all that information into Slack. So it says we've had a proposal signed into Slack and what the details of the proposal are, so that we know what work we've got coming up. But it also then puts that information into Trello for me, which is what I use for my workflow management. So everything from that proposal then gets automatically sent into Trello. So all I've had to do so far to go from meeting the client to getting Trello set up is type in a name and an email address and generate a PDF proposal. Everything else has been done for me. So I really try and utilize as many as I can. I don't want to go overboard, but there's a lot of apps out there that can help you just do the job that you don't really want to do, or get rid of those jobs that are just taking up more time within your business that you could be using to network, or do the things that we all went into business so we have more time to do the things that we want to do, and take away some of those things so that you can go fishing, or you can go camping, or you can go on holidays. It doesn't matter. Let them all work in the background for you. So these are the apps that I use. TeamViewer and Zoom, I'm sure during this period, everybody's sort of a bit familiar with what both of those do. TeamViewer is really good for remote taking over of a computer. So if someone's needing some technical support, you can just log into their computer. I've been using that a bit over the last couple of weeks. I'm working with clients who don't have cloud-based softwares. Zoom, we're all on Zoom now, so you all know what Zoom does. Typeform, as I said, it's really good for creating online forms. You can get payment from it. You can get as much information as you can, or as you want. I generally don't take any secure information from it, so I don't get tax file numbers or bank account details or credit card details. Everything that I get from it is normally public knowledge, or you can find out publicly anyway. As I said, I do pay for that, but they do have a free version, which is basic enough to get a basic form together. And you can, I think it's 10 questions that you can send out, but you can email it or you can share it on your socials and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. Loom is what I use. A couple of the videos that I did using Loom. So it's just good for, you can record your screen. I use it a lot for if clients are wanting to know how to do something within Xero, or within any of the softwares, I can just do a quick Loom video, show them how to do it, and then send them the link to that so they can have access to it whenever they need it. And I don't have to keep doing it all over again. So that's quite cool, and that's free. Well, I use the free version of that. I don't pay for that. HubSpot, as I said, is the CRM. I find it's probably one of the best ones I've used, and I've tried quite a few of them. I only use the free version, but it's still quite detailed in what it does within the free version. You can email direct from it, so you can connect up your Gmail or your Office 365. It's all tracked email, so again, when someone's opened the email or how many times they've opened it. You can send attachments, you can keep notes in there, you can connect it to Xero. There's a lot of things you can do with it. It's really good. It's definitely worth looking at for the free version. Hootsuite is for your social media scheduling. So for anybody who's struggling with posting on social media on a regular basis, Hootsuite might be really good for that. So you can just plan out a month's worth of posts, pop them all into Hootsuite, and it will just auto send them out for you. I use the free one of that as well. I don't like to pay for them if I don't have to. So I use the free one of Hootsuite, and I think you can use up to three accounts on that. So I've just been a little bit cheeky, and if I post on Instagram, I have it so it auto posts to Facebook for me, and then I have my Facebook set up that it auto posts to Twitter. So you probably could get away with doing a few things like that, and then only using Hootsuite for whatever's left, LinkedIn maybe. So it's quite good like that. MailChimp is for online marketing, online newsletters. So if you need to send out newsletters to your clients, or if you've got a marketing list, just remember that you've got to get their permission before you can add them to these lists. But it's quite easy to use, and it's simple. And again, I'm only using the free version of that, but I do know that it can get quite expensive once you have to go onto the paid one. So yeah, all of these, before I move on, these are just the ones that I use. They're not the only ones that do what they do out there. They're just the ones that I've come across that integrate into my workflow nicely. But there's so many other ones out there. Calendly is what I use for online calendar bookings. So I link it to my Office account or my Outlook calendar, and I can say I don't want to take appointments on this day or this day or this time, and it just syncs all the time. And so if someone says, oh, can I make an appointment with you? I can just send them the link to my calendar, and they can make an appointment at a time that suits them, instead of going backwards and forwards. When are you free? Oh, I'm not free that day. So they can just look at my calendar and find a time and a day that suits them. So, and I use the free version of that as well. Toggle is for, so if you want to time your bill. So if you're doing time-based billing, or if you want to know how long something's taking you to do, toggle it can just sit there in the top of your Google Chrome as an extension, and you can just toggle it on and type in what you're working on and off. And then at the end of the month, if you wanted to, you could print a report and it would tell you how long you spent on each project or on each client. And again, I just use the free version of that. OneDrive, everything I do is stored in the cloud. I don't store anything locally on my devices, probably because I work across 3 computers as well as my iPad and a phone. So I do a lot of my work wherever I am. So having a OneDrive with all of my documents in it definitely helps. Plus it just keeps the computers running a little bit better, I find. And I do pay for the business OneDrive because I find it's a lot quicker and I think it's a little bit more secure. So as I said, I think it's about $7, $8 a month for a terabyte. Receipt Bank we've already spoken about. So as I said, we do pay for that, but yeah, basically if you're a client of ours, you'll use Receipt Bank because it's included in all of the packages that we have. So we just give you the Receipt Bank login and you just start using it. So that's basically how it works. Any questions on any of those? No, there's a lot of information.
I might just jump in though, Neve, because we use a couple just to give some people a different perspective as well. So we use Receipt Bank, Neve and Eamon at First Class Accounts are the bookkeeper for the WBA. So it was Neve that set us up on that. I find that really useful for not only Kelly and myself being able to use it, but also if I'm out for a coffee or if I've paid for a parking receipt or something, I just get my phone, take a picture, and I know that once it's in Receipt Bank, obviously I keep them all and I file them away anyway, but if it gets lost or it's left in the car somewhere, it's all been tracked and recorded, so that one's really good. We've got a CRM as well. Kelly and myself would highly recommend, if you've not already got a CRM in place to help manage your customer database, put one in place. There's so many options out there, and I know a few of you have been looking at different options, but for us it's really helped us store and clarify the information so that if one of our members calls up with a question, I can see what correspondence Kelly's had straight away. But we've also linked our CRM with MailChimp. So when a new member joins, it automatically subscribes them to the right list, so they're getting the right messages in MailChimp. We've got, I think, over 2,000 people subscribed to our list in MailChimp. I think you're using the free version, you said, but to give people an idea, I think we're paying about $80 a month. So once you get to a certain amount of subscribers, you'll then start paying for every 100 or 200 that subscribe after that. So it'll keep going up. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry, Neve, for jumping in and
no, that's
what we use as well.
Yep. And it's good that a lot of them now are all starting to talk to each other natively. So, you know, you'll find that MailChimp will have a lot of integrations with different CRMs, or, you know, Calendly will talk to a few more things. They're all starting to love each other a little bit more. But for those cases where the apps aren't talking to each other, this is the one that I use. I've been using Zapier now for probably about 2 years, and it saves me. I do pay for it. I pay again around the $400 a month or a year for it. But it saves me so much time because my whole onboarding system is pretty much done through Zapier in the background. So there's a lot of things like the emailing of that form to my clients. Zapier does that in the background straight from my email address. So it's really good for getting 2 apps that don't normally talk to each other to talk to each other. So you can say, I have one set up, a really basic one set up that says, every time I get an email in my inbox, can you take any attachment from that email and put it into a OneDrive folder? So every email that comes into my inbox that has an attachment, all those attachments go into a OneDrive folder. So it's just saving any attachment that I might need just in case anything happens to my email. And that's just running constantly. So every time an email comes in, the attachment just gets pulled out and goes into that folder. You know, simple things like that, or you can have quite detailed ones, you know, 7, 8 step ones, depending on what you want it to do. But even just small things like that, yeah, so definitely worth. Zapier do a free one as well. I think you can have 5 zaps for free. So it's worth maybe jumping on there and having a look at what you can do that you didn't know you could do. So that's pretty much me, I think, Lauren. I think I'm done, unless anybody's got any questions or anything like that.
Yeah, good work. If anyone's got any questions, just pop them through the Q&A. I've just popped in the chat. We use a similar thing to Zapier called Automate.io. where you create, they call them bots. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's basically connecting a piece of software, like Neve said, to another piece of software that you might use to fill in a gap and take away any admin work that you might be copying data across, or there might be just a little hole in a whole loop of stuff that you can connect with that software so that it runs automatically and it's triggered by a certain action to do something else. So yeah, maybe if you could have a look at a couple of things. I know you're probably all sat watching thinking, oh God, that process within my business takes me long. I should probably work on that. Just have a quick look at some of the things that Neve mentioned. And if you wanted to reach out to either of us and ask maybe how we do it or what we use, you're more than welcome to, because if you can save yourself a little bit of time, then you can put that into something else, another area of your business, which is always helpful. So no other questions have come through. Belle, maybe if you connect with Neve, she's still asking questions here. Is there a discount code for Xero? I'm currently paying $50 a month.
There's only, the discount code generally only works in the first month that you sign up. So if you've been using it for more than a month, you're not going to be able to get any discount, unfortunately. But if you just started using it, we might be able to do something. There's probably a code. Yeah. Just think of all the time it saves you.
Okay, cool. Any other questions, Belle? Maybe connect with Neve directly. Neve, if you flick the slides over, then I can share them with everyone that's logged in this morning, and we will have the session recorded and shared in the Facebook group by the end of today. You're more than welcome, Belle. She's just thanking us there. So we hope you'll have a great day.
Worries. Thank you.
We hope to see you online, I think Thursday, but check the website. I'm not too sure. We've got the coffee catch up. So we'd love to see you all online for a little bit of networking if you've not joined us for a networking session on Zoom before. Well, take care, and Neve, thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.